Consider this a super video, the ultimate review of this, the NordicTrack 2450. I've been using this treadmill since 2022. It's an absolutely amazing treadmill. So grab a drink, grab a snack. This is everything I know. Let's get cracking. So let's start with some of the reasons I picked this treadmill back in 2022. Up until this point, I'd been 100% Peloton. I'm a big Peloton fan still, I just don't own any. But I'd returned my Peloton Tread, and when I was ready for a treadmill again, when I started looking around, this treadmill here made so much more sense than going back to Peloton. And these are just some of the reasons why. Let's start with number one, which is value. So I paid $2,750 for this treadmill, which I think is very good value for the features I'm about to talk to you about. And I also bought the annual membership subscription directly from iFit for $250, which is half the price of a Peloton All Access membership. When I bought my Peloton Tread, it was $2,250, and I genuinely thought it was worth every single penny that I paid for it. But when I looked at the price today, in the UK, it's $3,345, and in the US, it's $3,500. And that is exactly 50% more than what I paid for it. I know things have gone up, but I just think it's just massively overpriced right now. And that doesn't take into account the extra $500 a year for the subscription. And as I've already mentioned, it was twice as much of what I paid for the annual subscription here. Now, the reason I'm showing you the workouts on here and not on here is because if I show them on here, the belt goes round, which makes a noise. Next, and don't laugh at my little legs, is that it's easier on the body. What you see before you is vintage 1974, and my body shape is much more designed for picking things up and putting them down for no reason than it is for running. I don't know the difference between mesomorph, ectomorph, and there's another one, isn't there? But my body shape is very much breakfast cereal. To add to that, my calves and my hamstrings are not the most relaxed parts of my body. And the running belt on this, the new 2450, is exceptionally good for those of us who aren't gifted with the ability to run on hard surfaces. Next is the folding deck. So when I designed this gym, it was meant to have one piece of equipment this side, this area here for yoga and strength training, and then this area here for another piece of fitness equipment. But one of the best things about the Tread is that when it's not in use, it can easily be stored upright, giving us all this space back in the gym area. In fact, when folded, it actually comes into the room less than the bike does. This leads me into screen wobble. So you can see here that the screen is attached to this part, which is attached to the arms, which go all the way down to the base. So rather than the screen being attached to the bed of the treadmill, having it attached to the arms and straight to the floor means at higher speeds you get a lot less screen wobble. Yes, I'm running and I'm not doing 2 takes. If the screen is wobbling, you'll be able to see it. I certainly can't see it. It looks completely stable to me. Running and talking is quite difficult for me. If you haven't liked this video already, then everyone says this, don't they? Please hit the like button. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. And if you're thinking about buying a NordicTrack treadmill, either this one or one of their other ones, then please use the link in the description. Not only will it take you to the best price on the NordicTrack website, it also helps support the channel. So thanks very much. Next is these outdoor workouts. This particular run is in the Grand Canyon, which is, it's quite inspiring when you're running to have such fantastic scenery around. And don't get me wrong, the Peloton workouts are absolutely fantastic, but the vast majority of them are filmed in a studio. And where Peloton noticeably excel in their studio-based treadmill running, when it comes to the outdoor workouts, which are by far my favorite, because there is just so much more to look at, then iFit are just out there. I don't know any fitness platform that has better outdoor workouts, outdoor fitness workouts than iFit. Okay, so I know what this looks like. A minimalist has taken an iPad and a steering wheel into an IKEA. But my point is that this car doesn't have any buttons. As you can see, the only buttons, like the Peloton Tread, are these two here. You've got 2 scroll wheels and then you've got a button on there as well. But as much as I love minimalism and the way the Peloton Tread looks, buttons can be helpful. So if the voice commands, which like any voice assistant aren't the best, don't work, let me show you what I need to do in here to open the glove box. Step 1 is to press this down here, and step 2 is to press this to open the glove box. Not the most convenient thing in the world, especially when you're driving. Or more relevant to this video, running. So as you can see, there's lots of options here for just tapping on something to get the machine to do something while you're actually using it without having to worry about just clicking on the exact right part of a screen. Now I use, as you've seen, I use a TV if I'm doing off the tread workouts. You can also use a phone or an iPad, for instance. But if this is your only screen where you're working out, it has the ability to not only tilt, but it also pivots around like this. So if you want to work out next to the tread, you can just turn this screen around and do your workouts here. And as a little bonus one, which is something that I think the vast majority of us won't care about, is motor power. So on the Peloton Tread, it has a 3 brake horsepower motor, which powers the belt. And in every run that I did, and my wife did, and the kids did, it felt really good. However, if you're a serious runner, which I'm not, as you've probably worked out, this has a 20% more powerful motor at 3.6 brake horsepower. So what people have said and what reviews have said is that if you're doing lots of, say, longer runs, or you're running at higher speeds, or you're closer to the maximum weight limit for this machine of 295 pounds, then the extra motor power might be beneficial for you. I really like Peloton, especially their class content and also the things they do off the tread and off the bike. I think they're excellent. However, with this tread coming on the market, the new 2450, when it was time for me to get a treadmill again, comparing the two, this just seemed to be so much better value, especially because not only is it cheaper to buy, the subscription is half the price I managed to get it for, as I've mentioned, and the functionality, there's just more things on it, as you've seen in this video. Now, if the 2450 is the room, then clearly the 1750 is the elephant. Considering how similar these treadmills are, apart from screen size, as you can clearly see, should you save a wedge of cash and go for the 1750 over the 2450? And as someone who spent a lot of time with both treadmills, if I was to be on these treadmills with my eyes closed, which I don't recommend, I would not be able to tell you which one of these treadmills I was actually on. Let's have a look. One area where these treadmills really do excel and are equal is with comfort. I would score the comfort rating on here as 9 out of 10, probably 9.5 out of 10. And they are very comfortable to run on. I've done probably 4 or 5 leg workouts this century. And I do suffer occasionally with knee pain, calf pain, and sometimes hip pain. When I had a Peloton Tread, that was very much a rolling a dice as to whether I was going to get injured or not. After well over a year of using NordicTrack treadmills, I've not had any injuries. They are very soft, but not too soft to run on. And I feel as fit as I've ever felt, and my legs feel as strong as I've ever felt using these treadmills. NordicTrack call this Runner's Flex. They're both equally as comfortable and both equally as excellent. When it comes to motors, both treadmills go from -3 all the way up to +12. And if I come back here and show you what that looks like, this one's at its lowest setting and this one's at its highest setting. You can imagine the difference if you're on a hike. And when you're at -3, this brings in a whole different set of muscles running downhill, and also balance plays a big part as well, because you're a bit like this as you're going down. And at +12, I found that the hikes at +12 or higher levels, sort of 8, 9, 10, and 11 and 12, can be equally as difficult as the runs. So if you're looking for something perhaps a little bit more low impact, just get some hikes in. Both of these treadmills have powerful walking belt motors. So lots of people say you want to be at 3 continuous horsepower or above. On the 1750, this is a 3.5 continuous horsepower motor. and on the 2450 it's a 3.6 continuous horsepower motor. And the difference in these two motors, I just genuinely can't tell. In fact, I'm slightly like, I don't quite understand why you would make two motors that are so close to each other, 3.5 and 3.6. And I think if you're using these treadmills, even if you're hopping from one to the other at fairly high speeds, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between these two motors. And if you're thinking about buying one of these treadmills, I'll put a link in the description. That will take you to the best price on NordicTrack's website, and it also helps support the channel and enables me to make more videos like this one. So that's greatly appreciated. Thanks. Now, my second favorite feature on these treadmills is this one, which is Smart Adjust. And this means it's customizing the workouts based on my previous workouts. See here, we've got some pretty extreme terrain to deal with today. Now, at the moment, you can see the treadmill's at -2 because we're just going down some steps, and the speed is at 2.9. Now, if I found this was too easy, I could increase the speed down here. And you'll get this message, which says, all right, I'll remember this for the rest of the session. Also, if it's too hard, which is more likely for me, you can do the same and it will remember it for the session. And you can also pair that with my favorite feature, which is active pulse. Now, I'm just standing on the edge of the treadmill, so my heart rate isn't very high, it's only 88. And it's saying my target heart rate here should be between 118 and 128. And because the tread knows my age, height and weight, it will keep me in the zones it wants me to be. So if, for instance, my heart rate is too low, which it is now because I'm not actually moving on the treadmill, it will increase the speed of the treadmill until I get into that heart rate zone. If my heart rate is too high, which is generally what happens to me, it then reduces the intensity of the speed and the incline to put me in the zone it knows I should be in. Your zones will be different to mine, but you can see what mine are here and what the machine's working to. And if you're worried about the machine running away from you, within these features, you can cap your top speed. I've got mine capped to 7 miles an hour. Next are the tablets, and I bet this is your sticking point. So both tablets are excellent. They're very smooth, they're very easy to live with. There's not really any lag, and it's just like using kind of an iPad of different sizes, basically. Both screens rotate 180 degrees in either direction for off the tread workouts. And really the biggest difference is definitely size. But one thing to consider is the actual workouts. So these workouts are in 1080p. Here is the same workout side by side. I've tried to match it as best I can. And the main difference here, yes, is screen. And with these workouts being 1080p, and excuse the noise of the treadmill, they do look very good on both machines. This is the larger 2450. However, and I'm not sure how well this will come across, I think on the 14-inch, the contrast is slightly better. If you look at the dark colors in her coat, the contrast there, I think, is slightly better, and also with the rocks and also with the trees and the greenery in the background. I certainly think the 2450 is more cinematic, and if you're running, and you're probably going to be this far away from it if you're actually running, so it does take up a lot of your field of vision, whereas on the 1750, this is your field of vision. It's a tough one, isn't it? When I'm working out, I'm switching between these two treadmills and also my S22i bike, which has the same monitor as this one. And I thought I would notice the difference, and I thought I would be always leaning towards this screen, but I'm not. I can genuinely say it doesn't make any difference to me which screen I'm on. If you're the sort of person where if something says Pro Plus or Max on the end of it, you'll buy it, then you should definitely get this one. I kind of feel like this is by far enough screen for most people though. And I am that person too. I've just recently bought some Apple AirPod Max headphones, and I didn't really need them, and it turns out I was allergic to them. And I don't know how well you can see that, but this is just about as sore as it looks. So which one should you choose? And I actually can't wait to do this workout now. It wasn't really on my radar, but because I've been playing it for this video, I'm like, I'm gonna have to go for the whole series now. I think because the motor sizes are just that close and there's not really much difference and you won't be able to tell the difference, it does come down to screen price. And if cost is an issue, if you're thinking you don't want to stretch to this one over this one, then I would consider the 3-year ownership cost. So last year I bought an annual membership for a family of 5, so 5 users essentially, for $250. So that's $250 for the year. This year though, and I'm going to just talk about this in a moment because I'm really excited about this. I'm going to talk about it now. This year, just before I made this video, the Black Friday sale thing came up, banner came up on my phone. And I looked at the prices and it was $267 for a year. And I thought, that's pretty good. $250 last year, $267 this year. I thought, yeah, that's still a good price. But then they had this offer. So because I'm in, you can tell I'm invested. You can see I'm invested. I bought a 2-year membership and that brought the price down to like 207, or was it 217 a year for the next 2 years. And I'm like, wow, that is just, even at full price, I think this is exceptional value because of the off-the-tread stuff you get as well, such as yoga and strength training, etc. But when you get those sale prices, which come up several times a year, I mean, it's just really good value. So my point was, if you're keeping this machine for say 5 years and you're averaging say $300 a year for your membership, $250 or $300 a year for your membership, you need to add that on to the cost of ownership to these treadmills. And when you add that on, the percentage of price difference between these two machines is actually not that much. You'll find that it does bring them closer together over that 5-year ownership. Previously, this was called Man Maths. I'm sorry, gents, if you're watching, I know that I'm spoiling it for everyone. But now it's called I Want It Maths. So if you're trying to get this past yourself or a loved one, this is good reasoning to use. To get you started with your NordicTrack 2450, here are just some tips to help you get the most out of it. Number 1 is to use a mat or some pads to go underneath the feet and the back wheels. I've got commercial grade flooring in here and it will leave dents if you don't. Next is dark mode. There's quite a lot of white real estate on this screen, so just click on the hamburger here, select appearance, and then just change from light mode to dark mode. And then you've got much less glare, and I think it actually looks a lot better as well. Next up, we have closed captions. So if you don't want to hear the instructor on a walk, for instance, you might listen to a podcast, you can turn the instructor right down, switch on closed captions, and then the treadmill will control your speed as normal, and then the instructor will be able to tell you what to do here, and you can listen to something else. Next is deleting a workout. So if you've started a workout for whatever reason, you haven't carried on with it, if you want to do it again, you can just delete it and it will prompt you next time. So over here you have delete. If you click on that, it will delete the workout, and then the next time you come in, this workout will be recommended for you again. The next tip is how to schedule a workout. So this one's up next for me, but I also fancy the look of this one and I don't want to lose it. So I'm going to click on this one, and when this screen comes up, I'm going to hit the schedule button and I'm going to perhaps do this one on Saturday. The next tip is dedicated headphones. If, like me, every time you try and start a workout, your headphones either connect to your phone instead or another piece of workout equipment, just buy a pair of headphones for every machine you use. These are less than $20 on Amazon. I just searched for earbuds, 4 stars or higher, and less than $20. These work really, really well with these machines, much better than Apple AirPods do. And when I open the case, you can see that they connect straight away. Next is the auto fan feature. You can control the fan manually here. You've got 3 different speeds, but my recommendation is from the offsetting here, if you just press down, it puts the fan straight onto auto and the fan will blow as hard as you're working out. So when the dust settled and the novelty had worn off 18 months later, what do I actually think of this tread? Especially after I've had to have a repair on it already. In this video, I'm going to give you my 18-month review of this, the NordicTrack 2450. Probably my favorite treadmill of all time, but it's not perfect. So I'm going to be telling you about the bits that I've loved over the last 18 months, the bits that I don't like quite as much, and probably most importantly, for an item of this price, these are generally coming on for $3 grand. What happens when you need to make a warranty claim? So this isn't a static product. You get periodic updates to the software on this machine. For example, one thing that used to be a little bit irritating, not for me because this is my home gym, but when the machine's not in use, it goes through a series of screensavers. So what NordicTrack have done is they've implemented a proper standby mode where the screen will go black. And that means this screen isn't lighting up the room that you're in constantly. Another thing they've improved in their workouts is that when you used to go full screen, you used to have this really annoying plus sign here. But now if you take the workout full screen, you actually get the full screen of the workout. And that's one of the advantages of a connected fitness treadmill like this one, is because the longer you own it through software updates, they can actually keep improving the experience for the consumer. The thing I will say about these locations is it can get quite expensive. So after doing this running series, so this is in Ireland and it's just gorgeous, as you can see. We ended up going. I just had to go. So we went to like the Dark Hedges, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, I've never seen it, and some other places from Game of Thrones. But yeah, it can get a little bit pricey. With a treadmill at this price point, let's talk warranty and extended warranty. So I've had 2 breakdowns with this machine, one of them was self-inflicted. The warranty is 10 years on the frame. In the UK here, we get 2 years on parts and labour. And because I hadn't bought a treadmill at this price point before, and I know less about treads than I do bikes and rows, for instance, I bought an extended warranty as well, which also includes a service. And I generally don't buy extended warranties. Because of what I do now in this gym, I review fitness equipment, I may not keep this beyond 2 years anyway because I need to make room for more items. I think it's a good investment, especially because you get that service as well. Now, the problems I had were 2. So first of all, it got stuck on max incline, and that was down to just a problem here with this is the incline motor. So it lifted the treadmill to max incline and the incline motor just stopped working. And it was an intermittent fault, so it wouldn't always do it, but I contacted iFit on the Friday. On the Monday, they sent me an email saying they would replace the part, or they'd send an engineer out to investigate, and that happened 2.5 weeks later. So it did take 2.5 weeks to get the engineer here, but their response was actually very quick, just from Friday night to Monday morning. Now, I had a bit of an issue with the engineer, and let me tell you why, and I'll show you why. I guarantee this won't happen to you, but this is the 2450, which is identical, near enough to the 1750 here. The engineer came, diagnosed a problem with my 2450, which is this, so they bring one back. He came back a few days later. He came back earlier than he said he would. I wasn't home, but I'd actually swapped these machines over for filming, and you know what happened, yeah. He fitted the new lift motor to the wrong machine, so we had to come back again. However, that's when the second problem I had occurred, and this was my fault. And this is a problem you won't have. So this is the 2022 version, and this is the 2024 version. And if I come right around the back, it's to do with this bar here. Now, can you see this bar is a healthy distance away from here? However, if I show you this one, this bar is actually under there, and if I come around a bit more, you can just see the power cable there. And what I stupidly did was I had the treadmill on max decline, so it was on its lowest setting. I switched the machine off without realizing, lifted the back up, and it snapped the power cable off. Now, this can't happen on this model. So I think what NordicTrack have done is they perhaps realized this, and what can happen on the 2022 version can't happen on this version because the bar is further enough back. So if you do not realize you've got it on max decline, when you lift it up, the power cable doesn't whack against that bar. So one of the biggest reasons I switched from Peloton to NordicTrack, and I am a Peloton fan, I just don't own any now, is to do with these immersive workouts. You've already seen some of them, but you've got a walking series here, you've got a 5K training series, the sprint series. You can trek to Everest Base Camp. There is just so much choice in these guided outdoor workouts, and you're not just stuck with class workouts, although they do have them. So in conclusion, since buying the 2450, as you can probably tell already, I haven't looked back. In fact, I actually now have a NordicTrack RW900 rower, in addition to that, an S22i bike as well. It's like Apple. Once you start getting one thing, They just draw you in. My last bit of advice is to get the best piece of equipment you can afford. So consider how long you're going to keep it, probably 5-7 years. And when you look at the cost of the membership and also the cost of equipment and divide it over that time, I would say if I'd have gone for the range below this, so these are both the studio series, commercial studio series runners. If I'd have gone to the range below this, I may have wanted to upgrade sooner. So that's what I mean when I say get the best one you can actually afford to get. Well, I hope you found this video useful, and if you're still here, this is a long one, thanks very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll put a link in the description, as I've mentioned, which will take you to the best price on NordicTrack's website, and it also helps support the channel, which is greatly appreciated. There's a lot of work in these videos. Thanks very much, and see you next time.